Amid U.S. military drawdown and surge in fighting between Afghan forces and the Taliban, Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani will be visiting the United States this week to hold talks with U.S. President Joe Biden. Now, Chairman of Afghanistan's High Council for National Reconciliation, Abdullah Abdullah, will accompany Ghani on his first face-to-face meeting with Biden. The U.S. troop withdrawal is top on the agenda for the meet, where Joe Biden will also repeat his pledge to ensure that the country never becomes a safe haven for terrorist groups. Now, since Biden's decision to end America's longest war after nearly 20 years of conflict, at least 30 Afghani districts have been seized by Taliban. And criticizing the recent Taliban attacks on various parts of the country that targeted civilians, Ashraf Ghani has issued a warning to Taliban, saying that if they want enmity, they will face serious response. Now, Ghani said the Taliban would decide if they want to seek a true political solution or continue this. The statement came amid slow progress in the talks between Taliban and Afghan government as America nears a complete troop withdrawal from Afghanistan. Taliban fighters have overrun several districts in south and northern Afghanistan. In recent weeks, officials have raised concerns over the negotiations and have said the Taliban has not yet submitted a written peace proposal. While there are growing fears of the Taliban returning to power and eventually reimposing their harsh version of the Islamic law, Afghanistan's former president Hamid Karzai has said that US failed at both fighting extremism and bringing stability to the war-torn region. He added that US troops were leaving behind a disaster as extremism was at its highest point.
The heavy-handed, totally wrong US NATO military campaign in Afghanistan. The campaign was not against extremism or terrorism. The campaign was more against Afghan villages and homes. Putting Afghan people in prisons, creating prisons in our own country against our people, and bombing our villages. That was very wrong. They're leaving behind a country in conflict, with so much loss of life, with so much suffering.
And for more on this, Sarah Walton is joining us live from New York. Now, Sarah, thank you for joining us. The US troop withdrawal is on the agenda for the meet. What are the other key areas of discussions here?
Well, when Ashraf Ghani meets Joe Biden for the first time face-to-face at the White House this coming Friday, one of the things Joe Biden will be looking to give the Afghan leader and the Afghan people is reassurance that America will be there to support Afghanistan in the long term, if not militarily, in other areas, economically and in humanitarian aid. I think one thing that Mr. Ghani will probably not hear when he goes to the White House is that the US is planning to change its withdrawal plans in any way, despite the situation on the ground in Afghanistan, which, as you've been saying, has really deteriorated since Joe Biden made the announcement that US troops will be withdrawn by September the 11th. That announcement was made in the April time, and since then, the Taliban has overrun dozens of districts. Nevertheless, we actually heard from the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who appeared on the morning news breakfast shows in the US on Sunday morning, and he said that there is no plan for the US to change its program of withdrawal. In fact, he said that they are withdrawing troops at a record pace. It's thought the last US troops will actually be in a position to leave Afghanistan before that September 11th deadline.
All right, Sarah, now I was just going to come to that. Thanks for mentioning. Now, at least 30 Afghani districts have been seized by the Taliban. What do you make of this aggression? There have been warnings by Ashraf Ghani as well. How do you see this situation panning out? Because right now it's extremely volatile.
That's right. You know, the US will want to see a more peaceful situation. And Joe Biden has made it very clear that the very last thing that they want is for the country to return to Taliban rule and for the country to once again become a safe haven for terrorists, the kind of terrorists that have in the past targeted the United States. So there is an area of self-interest in this. Joe Biden will be keen to support some of the progress that was made in the country following the overthrow of the Taliban in 2001. There was a degree of return to normal life, as it were. Girls were allowed to return to school. There was infrastructure development in the country, but as it stands on the ground, worrying times ahead of the final withdrawal of troops in September.
All right, and also just for more clarity on this, many have criticized the United States' move to completely withdraw troops. How do you think the US will be able to ensure the safety of Afghanistan?
Well, Joe Biden has said that they intend to continue to support the countries in other ways, if not militarily. That will involve long-term aid and humanitarian aid in that area as well. The US has a vested interest in maintaining peace in Afghanistan, for no longer allow terrorists that could target the United States from being able to operate within Afghanistan. But, there is concern that the talks that have been ongoing between the Afghan government and the Taliban have been going very slowly. Still no sign that the Taliban has put forward a written plan or points for the very beginning that the peace talks could be based on. There is also no sign, analysts in the US say, that the Taliban is adhering to a promise that it made to the United States as part of a deal signed with the US in February 2020 under Donald Trump, whereby it promised to denounce terrorist groups in return for the withdrawal of troops.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us with all those inputs. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.